Welcome to the Faithful Agent Podcast, where we help Christian real estate agents grow their business without losing their soul. If you're ready to sell more homes, build systems that create freedom, and finally reclaim your life, you're in the right place. Each week, you'll get proven strategies, real conversations, and biblical wisdom to help you succeed in business while staying faithful to your calling in Christ. I'm your host, Garrett Maroon. Let's get started. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Faithful Agent Podcast. We have, actually, Jim, I think you might be the only ever second-time guest.
Right.
Or is this your third time? No, this is second time.
Second. Yeah, I think it's the second.
Okay. And as I mentioned to Jim earlier, you all will be very disappointed every time I talk. Jim has much more wisdom than me. But man, I am so glad that you're here. I think the first time you were on, Tyler was still the co-host. And man, you shared about, I think listing presentation, buyer presentation, maybe both of those. We'll link that in the show notes. You need to go listen to that, agent. It will make you sharper and better and more excellent at what you do. But man, Jim, I am so glad that you're here. So glad that I'm going to share a Christian dad joke with you.
I'm ready. Hit me. Give it to me.
We'll see if this is good. Last year, last year, my wife and I traveled to Europe for a Christian conference. At customs, an agent held out his hand and said, "Papers." I replied, "Scissors," and I was glad that I won that round. I don't know how that's a Christian dad joke other than they were going to a Christian conference. Yeah, but I like that. That's actually, that's pretty good. No. So today we're going to talk about, I don't know how do you transition from that, Jim, but we're going to talk really specifically to that agent in that 10 to 20-ish range, right? You've been in the market for a little while. You're doing a good job. You know how to sell, but maybe you feel kind of stuck. And Jim has a lot of wisdom that he's going to share with you. So any other agent, tune in. This is going to help you, whether you're trying to get to that mark, whether you were, maybe you're growing a team, you want to know how to help those agents too. This is going to be beneficial to everyone. So glad that you're here, Jim. Brother, please do a quick introduction, and then we're going to jump right in.
I'll introduce myself. Yeah, you bet.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll do that.
Jim
Jim Remley, been in the business for 35 years, so I've been around a while. College dropout. Worked in a lumber mill before I got my real estate license, and struggled for the first 6 months in the industry. But second year, I figured it out. Took 150 listings, top 1% agents in the nation. Opened my first company at 23, grew that to 17 offices in Oregon, became the largest independent in Oregon. And then I worked for NAR for 10 years, teaching all the designation programs, and then got recruited to come down and help another company grow. We grew that from 30 agents to 250 agents, became one of the top 500 companies in America by per agent productivity in a small Southern Oregon town, a population base of 80,000. So that's my background.
That's amazing. And what are you up to now?
Today, I am a coach. I coach agents and brokers nationwide. My niche, my specialization is helping brokerage owners and team leaders recruit and retain experienced agents. That's what my main focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right up your alley, and we'll make sure we get all that in the show notes too. Yeah. I know many brokers audience that coach specifically with Jim, and they love it. They rave about it genuinely. So if you're wondering how to grow your business, reach out to him for sure. So Jim, let's dive in, right? So that agent, that 10 to 20 a year agent, and there's a lot of those agents, right? And what I find, and I'm curious your opinion, but what I find when I'm coaching those agents, they kind of feel stuck, right? They're either, I don't know how to break through, or I don't want to do more deals because then I'm going to be gone all the time. So, I don't know how to do more without staying present and doing all the things I'm already doing with my life. I'm kind of happy where I am. And honestly, a lot of brokers too are kind of fine. Just stay there. I don't want you to grow a team because my model doesn't work. So, talk to that. What are the challenges? We'll start there. What are the challenges you think of that agent that's kind of right there in the middle that gets kind of stuck there? What challenges are they facing?
Well, it's interesting. I have my buddy, James Colburn. Him and I have gone back a long time. He told me a story, and James, if he listens to this, he'll appreciate this because he told me the story I'm going to share. But he was an agent doing 100 deals a year, super incredible, right? The same type of person you're talking about, just an incredible agent. But his coach asked him this really important question, which I thought was really telling. He said, "Yeah, we can coach you all day long, but let's start with this. You got young kids at home. When's the last time you played Legos with your kids?" And that was like a kind of a foundational question for him, because I think it really speaks to what we're all trying to do here. which is you want to design your life before you design your business. And your business needs to serve your life, not the other way around. Your life should not serve your business, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with that. I know you preach this as well.
Sure.
Let's start with life design. So in a perfect world in 2026, what does your life look like? I mean, how many vacations are you taking? Where are you living? How much time are you spending with your kids every day? Are you able to go ball games? What do you want to do personally? How about your health? All of those things that you want to design your life around. Then we say, okay, how does my business going to serve that? And I've got to make my business serve that in the right way. The problem with most agents, and I would say 10 to 20 to $30 million agents, or 10 to 20 transactions a year agents even, is that they really are just falling into business and they're not intentional about their business. And so I think it's to start with, I can't work from chaos. I have to work from clarity. And I have to say, I'm going to outline a system that I'm working, and that system is going to serve the life I want to lead. And the system is the key. And so we have to look for the system. And there's a really good point around this, and that is 80% of all businesses fail, right? And you say, why do they fail? But the reason they fail is because the inverse statistic is true as well, which is that 95% of franchises succeed. Why do they succeed when 80% of businesses fail? The reason is, what are they selling? They're selling a system. And when you plug into the system, you follow the system, you create profit. What we need to do is adopt a rigorous system for our business that works, and it works within the life we're trying to build. So systemization, number one thing we need to do.
System is so because I think, right, thinking about the agents that I know, it's like you get into business, you're just there to create time, money, energy, freedom, whatever, family freedom, whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Right.
And all you're focused on is, how do I hit six figures? Right. There's no talk about what's an exit strategy. There's no talk about, once I get there, how do I break through? Or what if I get stuck? There's no conversation. It's just, I got to figure out if I can do this or not, which all of us have been there, right? Yeah. I got to figure out if I can even do this. And then you get to that point, and to exactly what you're talking about, you've developed such bad or no habits, right? To your point, I love that you said just kind of fall into business, right? When I was traveling around talking a lot pre-COVID about teaching a 36 touch, right? They'd say, oh, I work by referral. Great. Tell me, what's your system? Oh, what do you mean? Like, you're getting referrals. You don't work by referral, right? There's a total difference there. Yeah. And so systemization. Now, a lot of people systems to them is a bad word, right? It's going to cramp my style, and maybe their style needs cramping, right? But, that's not me. I'm not that person. So how did they start to understand what kind of system, what does that mean? Can you unpack the meaning of that word? And then what does that even look like?
Well, the most dangerous thing we were all given as realtors is freedom.
Yeah.
we were given a shiny new license.
That's true.
And, I came from working in a mill, and at the mill I worked graveyard, and I'd pull lumber off of a chain, and if I didn't do my job, they'd fire me, right?
That's true.
This, that, and the other.
Yeah.
When you become a realtor, you give them freedom, and then you're able to come in late, go home early. No one tells you what to do. All your brokers are really kind of afraid to tell you what to do because you're afraid you're going to leave them if you do. So we have to insert back into something, which is what I call accountability, right? We've got to be accountable to ourselves, and we got to be our own best CEO. And I'll tell you the number one way you can do that. The number one way you can become your own best CEO is step away from your business for a second, and imagine you're hiring someone to do your job, and you're going to write them a check for the amount of money you want to start making every year. Let's say it's $500,000 a year. You want to earn $500,000. Imagine you're paying somebody $500,000 a year to do your job. What are your expectations? In other words, what's your job description for them? I'm going to guess a few things. I'm going to say you're probably going to have them coming in at 8 or 9 in the morning. You're probably going to have them using a CRM system of some kind. You're probably going to ensure that they have a listing presentation they've memorized, a buyer presentation they've memorized. You probably want to make sure they're active on social media, they're using the video, that they are, definitely following up with clients in a systematic way. They have drip campaigns, all the things you're thinking about. And then I want you to apply that standard to yourself and say, am I living up to that $500,000 standard? Most of us are not. And then we want to still earn $500,000 a year, but we're not applying this rigorous standard of performance that we would to anyone else. And when we do this, and we say we treat ourselves as our own best employee, then we start to perform at a higher level. And that's the bottom line. An interesting story about myself, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. me owning 17 offices at one point in my career, I thought I worked really hard. And I thought I did. And then I got, went to work for an AR, and then I came back and I got recruited to work for another guy, and I was suddenly an employee. I never worked harder than when I worked for him. I worked harder for him than I did for myself because I had somebody to be accountable to. So we need to have some accountability in our business. And that's step one, meaning you've got to have a really good job description of what you're supposed to be doing every day.
Love that concept of, it applies to anything, right? Even if we take it from a biblical worldview of the Lord has essentially written you this check, right? And hired you as a steward of the opportunity he's put in front of us. And so if I looked at it in the opposite way, right? I had a friend who, like, that's such a good concept, Jim. I had a friend who deals with like money management and all those things. I messaged him one day. I said, brother, I'm concerned. I'm about to fall in love with money. Like, I'm thinking about it all the time. I'm reading about all the things. And he said, you got to pray against it. But then he said, if I gave you, or if you gave me some idea, $10 million and said, go invest this, how long would you expect me to learn about it, right? How excellent should I be at it? He said, the Lord has done immensely more for all of us. And so I love the concept of saying, if we stepped out and looked at it and said, if I was going to bring in a $100,000 employee, whatever it is, what would they be doing all day? It's just reverse engineering that and then saying, okay, maybe I need to go do that. Right? Is that concept? I think, Jim, it's be, do, have, right? Like, so many people have it backwards. I'm going to have what they have, so then I'll do what they do, and then I'll be like them. No, you got to become that person first. If you're not making $500K, if you're not making $100K, it's because you're not that person yet, right? Yeah. And once you become that person, then you do what that person does, and then you have what that person has. And so...
act as if you're already there. If you want to be, like, I lost 30 pounds this year, right? And I did it.
That's amazing.
So I had high cholesterol, so I had to change my diet. And you just start acting as if you're that person. You're going to become that person. And it's the same thing with business. You start acting as if you're a $10 million producer, and you model exactly their behavior. You're going to start to produce at that level.
Go ahead, Jim. No, please.
Two quick things that people say, okay, the greatest gift I can give myself is clarity, right? So when I give myself the gift of clarity, remove decision-making. You look at all great people, Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, they did a lot of things of removing distraction, removing a decision-making out of their day. We need to remove decision-making. That's our biggest challenge. We get up in the morning and we think we have this freedom to make a bunch of these decisions, but we really shouldn't have that freedom, because that freedom is dangerous for us. Most of us can't handle that freedom. So what we need to do is say, okay, I'm going to have and we preach this in my coaching. I have my 5 non-negotiables. It'll be different for everybody listening, but my 5 non-negotiables are what I have to do every day to win the day. After that, I get freedom. It's kind of like your kids and telling them you've got chores to do. When your chores are done, you have the freedom to go play outside. What happens with people that are in our business is they just wake up and have freedom and they don't make any money. But our 5 non-negotiables in your case, you might be, I'm going to work the perfect 36, that Garrett told me to do. I'm going to walk my 36 this month, right? It could be, I'm going to call 5 FSBOs. I'm going to send out 5 thank you cards. I'm going to call 5 people in my SOI. I'm going to, post 5 things on social media, whatever it is for you. But the thing you have to remember about this is it cannot be vague. And what I mean by that is you got to look at it almost like exercise, in that there has to be a number attached to it. So I can't just say I'm going to make calls. How many calls? It can't just be I'm going to prospect. How long are you going to prospect? Very highly specific. And once you knock that out, then you got freedom.
Super good. So how are you helping? So an agent in that 10 to 20, right? That's what we're talking about. But this applies to everybody. It applies to me too, right? How do you help them start gaining clarity on what their non-negotiables should be?
It's different for everybody, but for the vast majority of agents, we know 70, 80% of the business is going to come from their sphere. So their number one strategy, you can look at all these different sales funnels, and we teach hundreds of sales funnels in our courses, but the number one sales funnel is your sphere. You have no business tackling anything else until you got that dialed in. And so for us, that means you're touching your sphere 20 to 50 times a year. And we are first dialing that in right now. And I'll tell you what we're doing right now as we speak, because we're recording this in November. But we started what we called our fall fast start, which is a blitz during the fall season, a 90-day blitz for our coaching students. But you can apply this any time of year. So in the 90 days, we're saying we're going to do 4 things. We're going to call everybody in our sphere of influence at least once. We're going to text everybody in our sphere of influence at least once. We're going to send everybody in our sphere of influence an email at least once. And we're going to attempt, we probably won't pull it off, but we're going to attempt to have a networking meeting with everybody in our sphere of influence at least once. And when I say these messages are not not generic. I'm not doing a blast. It's individual personalized conversations with every single person. So that would be an example of my what we call our 5 non-negotiables of what I would be plugging in first. And then if I still have time, I might plug in another, what we call prospecting pillar, which might be, I'm going to go out farm a market area. I'm going to do open house marketing. I'm going to go after FSBOs or expired or something else. But first and foremost is my SOI.
That's good. So it is this, the challenge, I think, of any of us, but when we have diluted focus, we have diluted results, right? That's from Wealthy and Well Known by Rory Vaden. I think you wrote that book, but he talks about that all the time. And I think as agents, that is 100% what happens. We're all over the place, right? If you're not that agent who sells a lot of homes doesn't struggle with discipline, right? Of course they do. But if you're that 10 to 20, and like you said, you kind of fall into the business instead of systematically create it through the activity and those kinds of things, right? We've become so undisciplined that having those non-negotiables, we might not even know what they are. What did you do? A comment, and you've dealt with this, Jim, but a common question I'll get when someone wants to get coached is, well, talk to me about your business. Where'd your business come from? What do you mean? I mean, tell me how many deals did you do in the last 12 months? Oh, I don't know. Okay. Well, can you tell me how many you sold from your sphere? I mean, like most of them. All right. Is there a number attached to that? Right. Like we don't even treat it like a business.
Right.
To your point, we're just like agents. We're not business owners. And so we kind of wrestle and struggle with that. So they get into this mindset. I love the idea of your 5 non-negotiables, right? Is that a specific number, or is it like create as many for you as you need, or is 5 like this magic number that you found works best for most people?
Yeah, the 5 is a big number. We live and die by the 5 because studies show you're not going to get more than 6 major things done in a day. So I think I'm trying to bring that down a little bit to 5.
Interesting.
And we find that number works.
Okay.
We also pair it with what we call the 4-1-1-1-1 strategy. So this strategy, if your listeners just apply this, it's like magic. In 30 days, they'll have transformation in their business. So the 4-1-1-1-1 strategy is, and it goes right along with the 5x5, is I am going to spend 1 hour a day in lead generation, 1/8 of my day. I must do this. If I don't do what I don't schedule what I don't prioritize. So I've got to prioritize. It's got to go on my calendar, and I got to do it. In that hour, my goal is to set one appointment with a buyer, seller, or sphere member. The sphere member counts just as much as the buyer or seller.
That's like a coffee with somebody or something.
Coffee.
Okay. Yeah. Like face to face with somebody.
Yeah. Face to face, or I'm showing homes, or I'm setting a listing appointment, right?
Got it. Okay.
One of the 3. And then because I'm setting one appointment, I'm going on one appointment a day. So that's my 3rd one. My 4th one, which is the most missed one and the most biggest opportunity missed for all realtors nationwide forever, is I'm adding one person a day to my sphere of influence. So if I apply that standard, my business will, by nature, if I run this strategy, I should at least close 22 transactions a year, and I'll tell you exactly why. Even if I'm a brand new agent, just got my license today. The reason is of the 10-to-1 ratio, which I know you've been coached on, I've been coached on. For every 10 people in your sphere, you'll average 1 closed sale if you're touching them 20 to 50 times a year. Here's the problem. If you go back and interview all the experienced agents and all the agents that are doing 10 or 20 transactions, you say, when's the last time you added somebody to your sphere? They'll be like, I don't know, because they're not intentionally doing it. They only add past clients, which they might be adding 10 people a year. So when I intentionally add one person a day, and by the way, the average American has 27 conversations a day, so we easily can do this. I'm going to naturally, over the course of a working year, add 220 people. There's 220 working days in the year. 220 divided by 10 means that's 22 transactions added if I'm doing my job. So it is like magic, but it's systemized magic. I'm making things happen because I'm intentional about it.
Yeah. It's amazing that the magic comes after you work and you do good work, right? Yeah. It's incredible how that happens. Okay. So to make sure I understand, right, for our listeners, because that's really good. The 5x5 is the 5 non-negotiables, but it sounds like geared towards lead generation, right? These are the 5 things I'm going to do each day. And then the 4-1-1-1-1-1-1-1, whatever that, right.
4 ones.
4 ones. Okay. So walk me through what that is, what each of those are.
So that's 1 hour a day of lead gen.
Okay.
Goal is to set one appointment with the buyer, seller, sphere member. Because I'm setting one appointment, I'm going on one appointment, and I'm adding one person a day to my sphere.
Got it. So set and go, and then adding one. Yeah, which is amazing. Adding one person also a day, right, is just getting out in the community. I mean, I go to the same coffee shop all the time. Who am I talking to? The same people all the time. Right. Even one of the ladies that works there, she's like, hey, Garrett, you're an agent, right? Like, it's been fun having you in. We got to know each other a little bit. My husband's getting into real estate. He wants to join your team. Oh, okay. Let's have a conversation, right? Like, just show up and be a person. person,
Yeah.
right? And be nice and be kind and be engaging, and you're going to be okay. Even if you're introverted, it's still absolutely possible for you to go be having conversations with people, right? Seeing the same kind of people, asking someone, if they're thinking about buying or selling, do they have an agent they'd refer, whatever the dialogue is that makes sense to whoever's listening. So I love that concept, right? So 5x5. And that is lead generation, right? What are the 5 things for lead generation you're going to do?
It's number one focus is your sphere and lead generation in that 5x5 strategy. And then the
5 non-negotiables.
Time management. Yep.
Yep. Okay. Fantastic. And then the 4 ones.
One.
Yeah. Right. I'll get that before the episode is done for sure, Jim. But no, I love that concept. Okay. So now we start shifting to, right? It's not as much if an agent doesn't like the word system, it's like, just what are you going to do every day, right? Yeah. Just, we're going to figure that out. And I think it was Dave Ramsey maybe, but he was talking about money, but he said, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll wonder where it went. Same thing happens with our time, right? Same thing happens. If we don't tell our time where to go, we wonder where it went. And so I love the concept of do these things, and then you have freedom for the rest of your day, right? But see how that pushes your business forward. How long is that going to take somebody, right? Are they getting up and they're not, they could say, wow, it's a lot of stuff. I'm 9 to 3 and I'm working on this 5x5, or, what are you seeing? Like 9 to 11? Is it taking them 2 hours? What kind of structure are you seeing here? Yeah.
I want them to do as much of that as they can within that hour block, that in that 411 as they possibly can.
Got it.
It may take them longer. And I will tell people, if you are basically unemployed, which is some realtors that are listening to this right now are basically unemployed. They're down to no listings. They maybe have 1 listing. They've got 0 or 1 escrow. You're basically unemployed. And so what else are you doing? So you need to be just all in on this, because this is where your time should be focused, right? And I think that's a really important, thought process. But when agents start to get busy, and we're talking about agents now that are doing 10 or 20 or 30 transactions a year, they still have got to do the hour because they want to be systemized about their approach.
That's good. The 1 hour that can change your business, which changes your life, right? I mean, you started with this, which I agree. We have to figure out
what happens with a lot of top agents, and even agents that I've coached that are doing 30, 40, $50 million. What's happened is, since the COVID years, when everybody had to ramp up in their business that was vertical, and then it's come off 30 to 40% for most agents, is they were on a glide path before. And they were able to, there's a lot of uplift with the market, but the market is now fighting against them. And now the glide path is taking them down closer and closer to earth, and they're crash landing from some of them. And so the only way you reverse that trajectory is you got to be intentional and go back to work and really focus on your sphere and rebuilding your sphere. And that's the reality.
Yeah. And the truth is, again, it's, at least what I've found, Jim, with coaching, with writing this book, of the agents that have this life that they've designed, right, that they want to get into. It's not that the business can't get them there. It's the business they've created or fallen into that has kept them from that life. Meaning, if they said, okay, I'm listening to Jim and I'm talking about this, and if they sat down and wrote out, like, what did you actually do this year to generate business? One, I think a lot of you'd be surprised that you didn't do very much. And so if you actually did some work, imagine where your business could be, right? That's the amazing thing. Or they've done so many things at so many variables, so many different times, so many different, I did this, I did that, I did this on the weekend, I did that at night, whatever, that the business is just running them around. There's no structure or system. And you say, no, hold on. An hour a day, right? An hour and a half a day. If you just get intentional with what you're trying to do, this is how, when my 6-year-old son says, Daddy, can you play Legos at 1:30 p.m. and I don't have a meeting or whatever, I can say, of course, buddy. Why? Because I've already won the day. I already pushed the day forward, right? I think the hardest part for agents when it comes to intentionally showing up and being present for our families, being present for those we want to be present for, is I don't yet know if I've won the day. And so I feel like I need to do more. And so then I show up and keep doing more, which none of it's actually that productive. Right. Whereas if I just had clarity, to your point, and said, this is what I got to do every day. Hey, I've already won the day, buddy. Of course, let's sit down and play Legos.
I love that, because I think a lot of realtors, I was one of these realtors that felt guilty all the time being at home because I felt like I should be working, especially in my younger years. And you carry this guilt around, like, I need to be working. You'll remove all that guilt when you give yourself clarity on what you're supposed to be doing every day, and you do your job and it's done. And then I can go home and say, I did my job. And you let go of results. This is the problem. We get so focused on result. The results come. You got to trust the coaches. You trust Garrett. He knows what he's talking about. Trust me. I know what I'm talking about. We've been doing this a long time. When you do the work, the results will follow. So once you've done the work, let it go. The results will come. I promise you they will come.
Mm.
I think that's a really important thing to think about.
That's super good, right? Just having faith that the work that you just did is planting seeds. They're going to grow.
Yep.
You have the freedom to go sit. Yeah. I mean, we live in an industry that it can be seasonal, right? Like, well, it's the dead of winter. Nobody's buying a house. No one's doing anything. It's the week between Christmas and New Year's, right? Like for us to know it's okay to chill out a little bit too, right? But it's only okay if you know that what you've done is what you needed to do to push your business forward. And I do think that's where a lot of agents get stuck, right? Is I don't know. And even showing up the next year, right? How simple it is. I agree. The 10-to-1 ratio, how simple it is to say, okay, I've got this 10-to-1 ratio. If I execute the system, if I'm adding people to my database, or if you just have 200 people in your database, whatever, I'm not saying don't add, but even if you didn't and you worked it well, that's 20 deals. You know exactly what you're going to do the next year. You know exactly when everything's going to happen versus you show up January 1, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to recreate that. Like, how do I do that? I don't even know exactly what I did. I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall. That's really challenging, right? Exactly. That is a really challenging position to be in. So speak real quickly to the broker owner or the team leader, right? You made mention earlier, because that's really your heart and your specialty, but you made mention earlier that a lot of brokers are concerned about, being that rigid with their agents because like, well, they're just going to leave me. Yeah. I think agents are craving for those things, right? But talk to me, how would you coach a broker, or how are you coaching brokers or team leaders and saying, no, you got to hold your agents to this standard? Like, how are you coaching them through that? What would your advice be?
It's a great question. So we coach to something we call the 2 Ps, and it's productivity or participation. So when we're recruiting or when we have our team with us, what we say to our team members that we're bringing on to our team is, hey, listen, here's how we measure you at our company. We measure you based on productivity or participation. Here's what that means. We would love to see you, and we kind of expect to see you at office meetings, training events. We expect you to be doing open houses, being involved with our lead generation programs, plugging into the tools that we offer you. Because when we see you participating, we know that leads to productivity. It's just a natural byproduct. Right. But we understand that if you're productive and you're out there selling a lot of real estate, you might miss an office meeting. You might miss a training session. We get it because you're busy. Here's what we can't have, and what we just is unacceptable. We cannot have you being unproductive and not participating. So you've got to be doing one or the other. We want you to do both because we know that leads to ultimate productivity. So for the brokerage owners that are listening to me here, you got to understand something. There's probably several of your agents right now that are doing what I call a goose egg. They haven't sold anything all year long. And you haven't held them accountable. What you should do is, in my opinion, bring them in your office and say, hey, obviously this isn't working. You haven't sold anything this year. Not working for me. It's not working for you. I want to change the trajectory for you. And let's get on the same page. I need you to start participating because I know it leads to production. If you're not willing to do that, then I don't know that this is a good fit. Because here's what's happening with brokerage owner leaders, and they don't even realize it, is that their company or their teams are measured by the entire market by per agent productivity. So if your average team or your average office, let's say the office A that I'm talking to or I'm coaching, has an average agent productivity of 5, their average agent closed 5 deals last year for $2 million or $1 million. And then there's a company down the road that their average agent is closing 10 deals and it's doing $2-3 million. That office is suddenly way more attractive for me to go to work for. So your agent productivity matters in a big way, way more than you think it does. And you've got to coach to it. You got to train to it. You got to have accountability in your office.
That's good. So productivity or participation.
Yeah, right? Productivity or participation, the 2 Bs. One or the other, you can't not do both.
Yeah, love that. And I love that even again, thinking about, okay, now take that as an individual agent listening or a mortgage lender listening. Look at your own business, right? Are you being productive or are you participating? Are you doing both? Obviously, if you can do that, right? The idea of just pairing that with, even looking and saying, I'm paying myself, right? I hired myself. Here's my job description. You get in at 9, you work till 4, whatever the scenario is for you, even just doing that, right? And how do I participate within those hours? Because it's going to lead to production, even just simple things like that. Now, I absolutely believe we need coaches around like you, right? To say, just hold me accountable. There's something, you lost 30 pounds. I had lost some weight. Then I stopped stopped paying for my coach. And then I went back up, right? Because I was like, I'm going to eat ice cream tonight. There's no one like, hey, don't do that. Right. Because my wife and I, we have 5 kids. We're like, you exhausted? Yeah, I'm exhausted. Let's go get Dairy Queen, right? Not the greatest thing. Plus she was pregnant. And so that was my excuse, right? Anyways, when I left my coach, I knew what to do,
Yeah.
right? I had all the knowledge. I just didn't have the accountability.
Right.
And if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. And so to me, the actual act of writing a check, which I'm about to hire him again, so don't worry, audience. But the actual act of writing a check, paying the bill, is say, this actually is important to me. I'm going to pay attention. And I think the struggle, right, for a lot of agents in the industry, if you're selling no homes, you're not really paying anything. I mean, you're paying to keep your license, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not really costing you anything. You're just kind of there. And so whatever, I get to do whatever I want. I get to tell people I'm a real estate agent. And quite honestly, that's just my excuse to be lazy and do nothing. It's like, I'm a real estate agent. I'm trying to build a business. The ones that are going to succeed at the highest level are those who not only are willing to be held accountable, but actually go seek out that accountability, right? And say, hold me accountable. I can become more excellent. And I'll say, as Christians, we should be in pursuit of that level of accountability, because our job is not to be excellent so we make $1 bajillion. Our job is to be excellent at exactly the opportunity, right? The stewardship the Lord has called us to. And so it's another level, Christian agent, Christian mortgage lender, whoever you are listening, is that reality of your job is to be excellent. The Lord's standard is excellence. Am I excellent in everything? Absolutely not. But it is his standard, and I should be in pursuit of those things. So we have to seek out that accountability and say, please help me. I need to be held accountable. If you have a broker, if they're not coached by Jim, they're maybe not doing this, right? So you should go be coached by Jim. But if you have a broker, go to them and say, hold me accountable. If I'm not being productive, make me participate. Hold me. And if they won't, maybe go to the next person, right? Look up, I don't know how they do this, Jim, but look up on Jim's website, see who he's coaching, and go to one of those people. I don't know how they would do that, right? But like, go to someone who is actively living that out. Because I absolutely believe, Jim, you've probably seen this too, whatever, the 87% failure rate for agent, that's an industry failure, in my opinion, more than anything else, right? I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think there's some good intentioned brokers out there, but the reality is that there's a lot of brokers that are not helping their team as much as it could be. And, I think it's part of what we need to do. I think a great question every broker needs to ask all of their team members is to say, every time they're talking to them, having small talk in the office, walking around, even on the phone, whatever, say, well, tell me, how's your pipeline? So if Garrett, you're on my team, I'd say, Garrett, how's it going today, man? How's your pipeline going? And because I want you to know that I care about you as a human being, and I care about your business, I care about your family. And if you say, you know what, Jim, it's down. I need some help. Let's get you in a room. Let's do some coaching. Let's get clarity on what you need to be doing. When I avoid that and I don't have those conversations with my broker or my agent, I'm doing a disservice to them. And I'm not treating them lovingly, from a Christian standpoint. I'm not saying I need to help this person maximize their God-given talents and really go out there and do the very best they can for themselves and their family. And to your point, when you're talking about our responsibility as Christians and as human beings, is you're given these God-given talents, right? And I think when you squander that and you say you have, and we all know we're capable of more. We say, hey, I'm probably capable of selling $20 or $30 million in business. I'm just being lazy and I'm just not doing the work. And I don't have to sacrifice my family or my kids' time. I could do it within a 9-to-5 timeline if I put my head down and did the work. And when I choose not to do that, that's like a disservice. It's a disservice to everybody and your family, your church, everything. Because what could you do with those funds? And it's not just about getting rich. Could you go help some families in the community? Could you go feed some people, give some money to the charity, to the church, or whoever you're supporting? When you don't do that, you're doing a disservice, I think, to the community and yourself.
That's good. Yeah, no, you're right. There's a ripple effect in excellence. There's a ripple effect or a lack of ripple effect that could have been when we don't pursue excellence, right? Yeah. The people around us. I agree with you 1,000%. So, man, so good. I love all the principles. I'm going to go back and listen to this before everybody else, which is the fun part of being the podcast host. So I can start implementing these. I love the 5x5, the 4-1-1-1-1. I think I got that right. Oh, one more? However many ones. I know it's 4. All of those principles, right? Productivity and participation, right? Just those basic principles for anybody. Just become a little bit better. I think ultimately the reality is, and this is the process of sanctification, right? Is for us to ultimately become more like Christ. It's happening. We're getting a little bit better every day. The Holy Spirit is making us a little bit better. Same thing we should be in pursuit of in our business, right? Just a little bit better. Maybe you're not going to do all 4-1-1-1, tomorrow, but maybe as you work towards it in 6 months, you're like, hey, I'm actually nailing this. I'm getting better at it. And the reality is exactly what you said, Jim. if the Lord has given all of us opportunity, the Lord has said, here's what you could accomplish, right? We don't know what it is. He didn't write it down. It's not like you could be selling 100 homes. Why aren't you doing that? But all of us are aware we haven't maximized our potential. There's more we could do. And so it's the constant intentionality. How do I become better? A little bit more discipline, a little bit more on purpose, a little bit more clarity, right? So, so many good things, Jim. Brother, if they want to connect with you, if they're like, man, I need my broker to talk to you, or they're a broker, like how would they go about doing that, buddy? How do we get them to connect with you?
Yeah, so they can easily go over to like elephant, realestatecoach.com. We got a free webinar over there called Rockstar Recruiting. If somebody that should be recruiting people as part of their build out of their business or their team, go over there and watch it. It's a 1 hour. We're bringing in tons of top recruiter tips in there. But there's also just a huge, vast amount of resources over there for agents, even free resources on our vlog and our blog where you can watch videos and get ideas and concepts on top strategies out there. A ton of free resources. Just check it out. And if somebody wants to actually set up a discovery call, there'll be a button there. They can set up a discovery call and learn more about me and my coaching.
Awesome. So even agents can do that, right? Or
yeah, absolutely.
Agents too. Okay, so whoever you are, go check it out. Real Estate Coach. We'll put that in the show notes. Man, brother, I genuinely appreciate coming back, right, on the show. And I don't say this lightly, like literally one of the wisest men I know in this industry. And so I am so grateful for your willingness to come share your heart and your wisdom with us, brother. It'll make a difference in people's lives. So yeah, thank you for coming on. Faithful agents, we love you. Go implement, get to work. Let's have some breakthrough in our lives. We love you. We'll see you next week. This episode is sponsored by the 210 Collective at EXP. If you desire to be equally yoked in business with your brothers and sisters in Christ all around the globe, if you desire to pursue excellence, serve faithfully, and glorify God in your business, then you should check out what is happening at the 210 Collective. Go to 210collective.com/podcast to learn more and schedule a call today.